Hi, I'm Sean McDonough. Fenway Park is empty now, but soon it will be filled with fans applauding the extraordinary efforts of their favorite athletes. And now TV 38, the Red Sox and Stop & Shop want to applaud you, the fans, for purchasing Yaz from Fenway to fame. For it will directly benefit one of Carl Yastrzemski's favorite charities, the Jimmy Fund.
What do you know about cancer?
You start feeling sick. Your family wants to help you. Some of the treatment might hurt.
Help us continue the progress.
Dr. Bruce, telephone, please. Dr. Bruce, telephone, please.
How are you?
Bye.
Please support the Jimmy Fund of the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute.
What may look like an ordinary piece of turf is not. For this is Fenway Park, the backyard that belongs to all of us here in New England. But for the better part of 23 years, it was owned by Carl Yastrzemski. Hello, I'm Sean McDonough, and what you are about to see is not a fairy tale, for even fairy tales have their limits. And when they exceed those limits, as they often do when captured in the imagination of a child who makes them bigger and bigger and still bigger, they burst under the weight of being almost unbelievable. And it's precisely because the story of Carl Yastrzemski really did happen, and it truly did get bigger and bigger, that it captured the child's imagination and all of us, just like an unbelievable story should. And just who is this hero of whom we speak? Well, he's the son of a Long Island potato farmer, but the heir to another's incredible legacy. He's a modern-day Don Quixote who took a team and a city along on a most impossible dream. Graceful and elegant on offense, he was neither graceful nor elegant on defense, where it looked like he would never get to a ball, but he always did. He's Carl Yastrzemski, the great number 8, and he took this ordinary piece of turf and turned it into hallowed ground.
On the left field, Yastrzemski coming on and makes the catch. Carl Yastrzemski. Deep to right field. Number 44.
Well hit to left. And that's going to be a great catch by Yastrzemski. Long drive, right field, way back, near the wall, and there it is! Home run number 400, Carl Yastrzemski. Now, listen and watch. There goes the ground ball, base hit, number 3,000. Yastrzemski's got it. And all hell breaks loose at Fenway Park.
Thank you so much for being here, and I hope I represented Boston and New England with class and with dignity.
Carl Michael Yastrzemski, born August 22nd, 1939, Southampton, New York. It did not take long before all eyes were upon him. The potato farm he grew up on instilled in young Yaz the discipline and work ethic that would become synonymous with his name.
When I was in my, say, from 6 to 10 category, I used to go on the farm and get a big bushel basket, potato basket, and fill it up with rocks, and take bats, broomsticks, sticks, anything, and sort of play games, throw the rocks up and hit them and sort of play games, you know, like the Yankees against the Red Sox and what have you.
He would become the first Little Leaguer ever elected to baseball's Hall of Fame, but he first attracted attention with the Bridgehampton, Long Island White Eagles, playing on the same team with his baseball mentor, who also happened to be his father. And although he tried, the student could not outdo the teacher.
He batted .430 and I batted .450.
So prodigious were the elder Yastrzemski's blasts and so frequent were his hits that Red Sox scout Bots Nicola, on first seeing the father-son combo, jokingly suggested that he was not sure which Yastrzemski to sign. Since Major League Baseball did not have a player draft at the time, Carl Yastrzemski was up for grabs to the highest bidder. And the bidding was fast and furious among 14 interested ball clubs because Yaz was a prospect of the highest caliber. Mickey Mantle was Yaz's favorite player in the 1950s, and because he was a native New Yorker, it would have come as no surprise if he had signed on with the Yankees dynasty. Perish the thought. But not one club was willing to ante up the cash bonus and agree to pay for Carl's education as his father wanted, so he was off to the Golden Dome of Notre Dame. After 1 year, the Red Sox scout returned, armed with $100,000 of Tom Yawkey's cash as a signing bonus, and a guarantee that the Red Sox would pay Carl's educational expenses. Bots Nicola had accomplished his mission. And by 1959, Carl Yastrzemski was on a mission. The Red Sox sent him for seasoning to the AA Carolina League in Raleigh, where they switched him from shortstop to left field. He responded by capturing the batting crown with a .377 average. Next stop, AAA ball in Minneapolis, where again he led his league, this time the American Association in hits, and he finished second in batting average. Word was spreading that the phenom with the unpronounceable name could really hit. Let him? Well, as one reporter said, Tom Yawkey will buy him his own batting cage. Such was the anticipation surrounding the arrival of Yastrzemski. And his emergence could not have come at a better time. For with the 1960 retirement of Ted Williams, there was a tremendous void to be filled in Fenway's left field. Ted Williams, his thoughts on hitting so scientific, his swing so pure and so perfect that he elevated the swinging of a baseball bat into an art form. His was a glorious career that spanned 4 decades. Ted Williams was the Boston Red Sox, and there was no way that anybody could ever replace him. But the job, the legacy, and the burden went to Carl Yastrzemski. And the master, here shown instructing the rookie Carl Yastrzemski, then wearing the number 45, gave his approval. The pressure on the then 21-year-old was enormous. And when Carl and I met in the shadow of Fenway Park's famed left field wall, that was just one of the things which we discussed.
In one way, it was tough, but in another way, nowhere in my career, whether it was a World Series game, playoff game, did pressure ever bother me like it did the first day that I stepped on the field at Fenway Park.
And when he did, he was issued number 8, which invariably invited more comparisons with number 9, Ted Williams.
Going into his first year, there were a few numbers available, and I thought 8, being close to 9, the position where he was taken in regards to Teddy would seem a little appropriate. And then I was home thinking about it a little bit one night, and I said to my father, I've got to give a number to this kid that's coming up. I said, what do you think of number 8? He said, that's a good number, and that was it. So I said, that's it, I'll give him number 8.
Carl was platooned frequently with a journeyman outfielder named Carroll Hardy, who, as his claim to fame, can say that he was the only player ever to serve as a lineup replacement for both Ted Williams and Carl Yastrzemski, who was really struggling. In those days, did you have any contact with Ted? Did he ever talk to you and try to help you along, or did he feel that maybe he was causing you so much pressure from afar anyway that he just left you alone?
Yes, he did help me one time. I remember I was struggling that first year. He was somewhere fishing up in New Brunswick or whatever, and somehow Mr. Yawkey got a hold of him. I really just wanted him here to watch me take batting practice and not suggest anything. But maybe just talk to me and give me a little confidence, a little booster, and he did that.
Whatever Ted told him worked, because Yaz went on a tear in the second half of his rookie year, and he followed that up with a strong start in 1962. When Yaz won the American League batting title in 1963 and followed that with averages a little over 300 in 1964 and a little under 365, it appeared that he had arrived. Until, that is, 1966, when the Red Sox were going nowhere fast. Yaz also had his problems. No matter how impressive his numbers, they were still not good enough when you're captain of the Boston Red Sox. And of the few who did care enough to attend Red Sox games, most were calling for Yaz to be sent on the first trade out of town. But those in the know knew better. Carl Yastrzemski spent his first 5 off seasons attending Merrimack College, and in 1966 he kept a promise he had made to his father.
When he wanted to sign up, he promised me that he'd get his college education, and that's what he did. He had 5 semesters in Notre Dame, and he finished out the 3 semesters in Merrimack. And he's got his diploma for it. And he's kept his promise, though.
Now of sound mind, Carl Yastrzemski set about getting his body in shape. Prior to the start of the 1967 season, he put himself through a rigorous training program. For if the Red Sox were going to contend in the American League, they were going to have to be led by a Superman. The odds makers had the Red Sox at 100-1 to win their pennant before the season began. It was certainly an impossible dream. How did your closeness with Mr. Yawkey come about?
He wanted to know every little ins and outs about the game. If Mantle was in here, and Mantle beat us in the ninth inning. Where was that pitch? You know, you got to throw him high. He's hitting left-handed, even right-handed. How can you throw him down there? Where was it? And that's the way, Mr. Yawkey, I'm left field. You're probably closer than I am, you know. And that's how much he knew the game. That's the one thing that, as well, here's a person just in it for the enjoyment. He was in it for the enjoyment, yes, because he loved the game, but the one thing is he knew baseball, and he would have traded anything for a World Series.
The first indication that the impossible might happen came in April, when Billy Rohr, in his first Major League appearance, took a no-hitter into the ninth inning against the New York Yankees.
Rohr winds. Here it comes. Fly ball to deep left. Yastrzemski is going hard. Way back, way back. And he dives and makes a tremendous catch.
Two batters later, Elston Howard, who ironically would later be traded to the Red Sox, broke up the Rohr no-hit bid.
Line drive into right field for a base hit. Tony Conigliaro taking it on the first hop. No chance. A line shot to right field has stopped the bid of Billy Rohr for a no-hit game in his first Major League start.
But at the end of the game, the Boston Red Sox charged onto the field with a winning attitude, just as new manager Dick Williams said they would. Through May, the Sox hung in there, just a few games off the pace. For every win, there was a different hero.
In 15 innings, the Red Sox pull it out 11-10 and go into a tie for first place in the American League, as Jose Tarnabul is mobbed by his teammates going off. Should be good for extra bases. 2 runs are coming across. Yastrzemski digs for 3 and triples.
Into June they went, with a penchant for coming from behind to win games. They dubbed this team the Cardiac Kids, and as they gained momentum, their heartbeat awakened the souls of baseball fans in New England.
Line drive to Foy over to second. And on to first base, a triple play. And he strikes him out to end it. Another strikeout for Lyle. That's ripped. Stanley looking up, and Joe Foy has hit one off the wall. Andrews coming around, and Foy at second with a double. Long drive to left center. Davalillo is back to the fence, and it is gone for a home run. Conigliaro puts the Red Sox on top 2-0. This may be good for a couple. May after the ball, and Adair going around first and on to second. Easy double for Jerry Adair. Long drive to left field by Joe Foy, and this one is a grand slam home run. There's a drive into right field, caught by Tarnabul. Runner tags. Here's the throw home, and he is out at the plate. He is out at home.
The Red Sox were in a pennant race, and since everybody loves a winner, Fenway Park was packed, inside and out. To Yaz, that made all the difference.
I think that's why I was so successful in '67. This was something new to me. We're involved in a pennant race. The stands were full. You didn't have to get a base hit, make a good catch, throw somebody out. Standing ovation. You go in the clubhouse, I went over 4-1, and I got a standing ovation. So I think that's why probably I performed so well in '67.
And perform so well he did. The same people who wanted to trade him in 1966 were now shouting, "Yes, sir, that's my baby."
Another base hit for Carl. Here comes Andrews to score. And the throw is going into second. It is 5-0. Changeup, fair ball. coming around. He'll score. Yaz trying for two. And Northrup has trouble as Yaz turns second and holds at second base.
Well hit to left. And that's going to be a great catch by Yastrzemski.
High in the air into short left field. Yastrzemski making a long run. Watch out, Carl. He makes the catch.
Then one night in August, right fielder Tony Conigliaro suffered a tragic beating, and the world of the Red Sox Pennant Express came to a sobering stop. But number 8 rallied the troops behind him and kept the Red Sox in the pennant chase. He had entered a most mystical state, where everything he touched turned to gold, and everything he did seemed so effortless, even he couldn't believe it.
It just never stopped. It never ceased. I would go home after a game, lay in bed at night before I'd fall asleep and think, well, what could be the situation in the 9th inning and tomorrow's game where I come up with the game's on the line? And invariably, it would happen. And it just kept going on, and I said there was no pressure. I was enjoying it, and it continued for 6 weeks.
And with the Twins, Tigers, and Red Sox all neck and neck entering the final weekend of the season, Yaz took over with the greatest 2 games that a ball player could ever have when it meant so much. The Red Sox took the field having to sweep the Twins to remain in contention. Saturday, September 30th, 1967.
Deep to right field. Number 44.
Red Sox 6, Minnesota 4. The 100-1 shot was tied for first with 1 game to go. Sunday, October 1st, 1967. A day for Red Sox fans to remember exactly where they were and what they were doing. The Red Sox are down 2-0 in the 6th inning when Cy Young Award winner-to-be Jim Lonborg pulls a surprise.
And he can't play it. A bunt single for Lonborg to lead off the 6th inning. And this is a base hit to center. Lonborg will hold at second. 2 on, none out. Swinging away, base hit to left. Lonborg being held at third base, and they're loaded up. There's Cal Irmer in the Twins bench. Tight and tense, looking at the action. Base hit to center. Lonborg scores. Adair will score. It's tied up. Yaz will go to second. A run will score.
The Sox were in the lead to stay, and their new superstar had led the way. Yaz finished the 2-game series going 7 for 8 with 1 home run and 6 RBI. It was a time for celebration, albeit a premature one.
Little soft pop-up. Petrocelli will take it. He does. The ball game is over. The Red Sox win it. And what a mob on this field. They're coming out of the stands from all over.
The funny thing is, after the game, we couldn't really celebrate because we had to wait for Detroit to lose to the Angels. And so we went into the clubhouse. Yeah, we sprayed some champagne on each other and stuff like that, but you couldn't really have that full excitement. You had to sit and listen to the game, and then, of course, all hell broke loose.
Impossibly, the Red Sox had won the pennant, led by their Triple Crown and MVP winning player.
Carl this year has been amazing in all phases of the game. He could beat you with the glove, with the arm, with the legs, and with the bat.
Would you say he's a better all-round ball player than Ted Williams was?
Williams was known as a hitter. It's 2 different styles of play. Let me put it this way. He's the best ball player I've ever seen on one given year.
Yaz was a marked man in the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Beat Yaz, their theory went, and you've beaten the Boston Red Sox. Just when you did not dare ask him to do more, Yaz batted .400 with 3 home runs and 5 RBI. But this part of the impossible dream fairy tale had itself become too big and too unbelievable to become true. The St. Louis Cardinals were world champions, winners of a 7-game series. But Yaz had given Tom Yawkey the thrill he had wanted, and now Yawkey spoke for all of New England.
"1967, how did it change your life? Never mind your career, but I imagine your life and career just changed dramatically after that."
I think it came about to where all of a sudden the Boston Red Sox and Carl Yastrzemski were insignificant in baseball, all of a sudden became a spotlight.
The great number 8 was even regaled in song.
The Yaz song was a very fine reporter and a very creative guy named John Conley, the late, great John Conley at the old Channel 5. We came up with this idea for a song together, and I did it on the air once, and I figured, well, that's that. And now the Impossible Dream year, and the Carl Yastrzemski year, they're going to get out an album. Would we put the song on the album? So they hired an orchestra. We went over to a little recording studio in Revere, and we did the Carl Yastrzemski song. And I wasn't all that thrilled with it, so I tried to disguise my voice as best I can. And it was inspired by the Hallelujah chorus. Hallelujah, it became Carl Yastrzemski, and that's how it all began, and it seems like it will never end.
Carl Yastrzemski, Carl Yastrzemski, Carl Yastrzemski, the man they call Yaz, we love him. Carl Yastrzemski, Carl Yastrzemski, Carl Yastrzemski, what power he has. Our Boston team is always on the beam, 'cause we got Yaz. We Fenway fans, we stomp and clap our hands, and Yaz is jazz. Those rival pitchers on the mound all shake. They dread each windup that they have to take. When number 8 is standing at the plate, and then he swings. Whoa, there it goes again. Whoa, there it goes again. Whoa, there it goes again.
Deep to right field. Number 44.
Our Boston team, it's always on the beam, 'cause we got Yaz. We Fenway fans, we stomp and clap our hands, and Yaz is jazz. Although Yastrzemski is a lengthy name, it fits quite nicely in our Hall of Fame. We love him so. In Boston we all know that when he swings, yeah, here we go again.
Any idea in the late 60s and early 70s of the Impossible Dream Team becoming a possible dream team faded quickly. Tony Conigliaro faced a long recovery from a case of blurred vision, and pitching ace Jim Lonborg was never the same after a skiing accident. Despite these problems, all anyone expected out of Carl Yastrzemski was that year after year he would lead the Red Sox into the World Series. It didn't happen that way in 1968, although Yaz did win the batting title at .301, the lowest average ever to top the American League. Nor did it happen that way in 1969, although Yaz did stroke 40 home runs while playing in every game. But he could only muster a .255 batting average, and the Red Sox fell 22 games out of first place. Manager Dick Williams, who only 2 years before had shared in the euphoria of the Impossible Dream, was fired. Yaz was not meeting the fans' unrealistic expectations as the World Series savior, and after one strikeout, they let him know it.
I went up to the clubhouse and I was infuriated about striking out. I took 2 big wads of cotton stuck in my ears, and I came running out, "Ooh, how you bum this and that." And I could hear him through the cotton. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So they went on and on and on, and after about the second out of the inning, I still didn't say anything. I turned, and there was a pause before the other third batter came to play, and I took out the cottons. I started shaking the cottons, and all left field got up and gave me a standing ovation. And that was it. That was the end of it. They never booed me after that again.
Yaz posted MVP-type numbers in 1970. Playing in every game but one, he swatted 40 home runs for the second consecutive year. But he barely lost out on what would have been his 4th batting title. The reason he lost the batting championship was because his competitor, Alex Johnson of the California Angels, learned Yaz had already finished his season while Johnson was in the last innings of his. Johnson did some quick calculations, realized that he was only 3/1000ths of a point in front of Yaz, and removed himself from his game. So although Yastrzemski had a career-high batting average of .329, he was not the American League batting champion. And this was a typical incident in the good news and then the bad news decade of the 70s. Take 1972, for example, when after a mighty blast in Detroit, Yaz got the surprise of his life.
I get to third base. I look up, there's Aparicio. He had fell down and came back. I pushed him off the bag and said, go home. He started, he got halfway down. He fell down the second time. People forget that he fell down twice. And then he came back to third. I still think if he would have kept going home, he would have made it. And if he would have got up and went towards home, I was going to follow him in. So I know he could have made it.
And if Louis Aparicio had made it, the Red Sox would have won the pennant. Instead, they finished 1/2 game behind the Tigers. The mid-70s were a time of change for the preeminent left fielder in the game. Ever since the construction of Fenway Park's famed left field wall, no one worked it like Yaz. But it did not come easy.
I think when I played left field, the wall was completely different. It was tin, and it had rivets and squares and things like that. Now it's fiberglass, and the ball hits off, it comes back true. But before, ball used to hit a rivet and bounce maybe to the right, sharply to the left, and you really couldn't adjust to any one way the ball was going to come off the wall.
However, when all was said and done, Carl had tamed the Green Monster, and he has the 8 gold gloves to prove it.
Makes the play. For a second, it looked like Yastrzemski was going to have no play. Now they've got Munson caught off first base. A throw by Duffy in time. They double Munson off first. There's a ball hit hard in left field. Yastrzemski comes in, now goes back to Wynn's. Got it, makes a brilliant catch in left field.
Throughout his career, he charged the ball like the shortstop he once was. And for 7 years, he led all outfielders in assists. Still a major league record. Jim Rice arrived in Boston in 1975, and Yaz became a first baseman. He was just as much fun to watch at first base as he had been in left field.
And a fair ball hit the chalk, and Yaz with the jump toss over to Rick Wise to retire the side.
Then in late September, Rice was hit by a pitch, suffering an injury that would sideline him for the rest of the season. The Red Sox, winners of the American League East, would meet the Oakland A's in the American League Championship Series, and Yaz would be called upon to play left field for the first time all season. In fact, Yaz was far from asleep. He had re-entered that mystical state he was in 1967, when everything he touched turned to gold, and everything he did seemed so effortless.
There's a high drive, left field, going back, looking up, goodbye, goodbye.
All I can remember is outside of the home run off Ida Blue here to tie the game up or whatever. All I can remember is the defensive plays that I made in that series.
Lines one down the left field line. It's hard off the wall. Here comes the throw to third, and Kevin Harris is out. What a throw by Yastrzemski. He played the ball like he owns it. There's a line drive, and that'll be off the wall. Ball bounce away. Yastrzemski barehands it and holds Bando to a single.
And Jackson lines a base hit. Yastrzemski throws to second. Here comes Jackson. Here comes the throw. He's out. And here's a base hit left center. Yastrzemski traps the ball and makes a great play in left center field. A run scored, but Yastrzemski prevented another run from scoring. Pitch to Holt, and a bounding ball, second base. Doyle throws to first. It's over. It's over. The Red Sox win the pennant. The Red Sox have done it, and they will go on to play in the World Series. And we'll have to await the winner of the National League game between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
It would be the Cincinnati Reds of Big Red Machine fame in what has been called the greatest World Series ever played. But again, the good news and the bad news. The good news, the Red Sox make it to the 7th game of the 1975 World Series. The bad news is that they are snuffed out when Yaz's fly ball lands gently in Cesar Geronimo's glove. End of game, end of series. By 1976, he was firmly entrenched as Captain Carl, the crafty old veteran. Even at the age of 37, his was a heads-up hustling game, and he was still perfectly capable of playing the power game. Check out this two-day demonstration of hustle and power.
Yes, it's a deep drive to right field. Going back is Staub at the track. Get it. And it's gone. Well, the extra BP had to pay off, I guess, for Mr. Yastrzemski. 1-1. Hit to left center field. Johnson going back, way back, and this is out of here. Carl Yastrzemski has hit his second home run of the ball game. Here goes Yaz. The ball is chopped. Rodriguez cutting across Verizor, goes to first in time. Yastrzemski going to third. The ball is thrown away. And Yaz coming in. Here's Verizor's throw to the plate. It is not in time. Yastrzemski scores. And I tell you, number 8 went around those bases, made the big tour.
Which was followed by this tour de force.
Right field, Staub going back. It's gone in the upper deck. Carl Yastrzemski has hit his third home run of the ball game.
Then on to New York for the next series and another Yaz entry into the record book.
Fly ball right field, Velez, near the barrier, it's a home run. And Yaz is really putting it on for him. He just stood there, watched it, and did not move until it hit the seats. There's a drive deep to right field. Back goes Munson. Get home run! All right. 5 in 2 days for number 8.
The 1978 Red Sox themselves were a good news, bad news team. They commandeered a big lead early, only to squander it in the dog days of summer. History holds that the 78 Red Sox choked. The record says that they won 14 of their last 15 games to tie for the top spot in the American League East.
Here it is. Pops it up. This could be it. Brohammer in foul territory. We go to tomorrow.
One day, October 1st, 1978. One playoff game, the Red Sox versus the New York Yankees. One classic matchup, Guidry versus Yaz. 1-0 Red Sox.
Drive to right field. This is deep, and this ball is gone. A home run for Yastrzemski.
God bless him, I'll tell you. That's unbelievable.
The Sox score another. And late afternoon commuters are greeted by the good news. Then the bad. The Yankees rally and take the lead. Yaz and the Red Sox battle back from the 5-2 deficit, and the scene in the bottom of the 9th inning could not have been more dramatic. The Red Sox trail by a run. Runners are on first and third, and there are 2 outs. Goose Gossage is on the mound in relief for the Yankees. Carl Yastrzemski is coming to bat for the Red Sox. In the world of the great number 8, the disappointment of 1978 gave way to personal glory in 1979. That was a year for the record books. Not one American League player, from Babe Ruth to Joe DiMaggio to Ted Williams, had ever hit both 400 home runs and achieved 3,000 hits in their illustrious careers. But as the 1979 campaign opened, Carl Yastrzemski needed just 17 home runs and 131 hits to be the first American leaguer to achieve both of those breathtaking milestones in one career. There was one thing about Yaz's home runs. You knew one when you heard one.
Uh-oh, see you later, baby. Upper deck home run, Yastrzemski.
And then the big blast that everyone was waiting for.
Long drive, right field, way back, near the wall, and there it is! Home run number 400, Carl Yastrzemski. Now, listen and watch.
The man always provided good theater, and despite his best intentions, he could never escape the spotlight. From that night in July until another one in September, The spotlight would grow brighter and brighter. It would prove to be a painful and long climb in pursuit of the 3,000th hit.
Another base hit for Yastrzemski. 3 to go.
Painful, as Yaz was playing with an Achilles tendon so sore, he was outfitted with a combination of spikes and sneakers to ease the pain. Long, well, long, because it took a long, long time. The Yaz watch was on.
Carl had been hurt and had not been swinging the bat very well. It was a labor for him to get up to the plate, it seemed to me and to everybody else. And he was not swinging the bat well and not making even good contact with the baseball. His outs were little ground balls, little pop-ups, sometimes a strikeout. And I think to him himself, he wondered when that hit was ever going to come. It's been a long battle. There's a 2.999. 1 to go for Yastrzemski.
All right.
With 2,999 down and just 1 to go, the excitement and the pressure were building. 12 times he stepped to the plate, 12 times he received standing ovations, and 12 times he went back to the bench stuck at 2,999 hits. And then, with that uncanny knack for good theater, he came to bat at Fenway one last time before the Red Sox were to go on a road trip.
I wanted it here at Fenway, and it was my last at bat before we went on a road. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't get that base hit that night, because I'd have been so torn emotionally not having a 3,000 hit at home.
There goes a ground ball, base hit, number 3,000. Yastrzemski's got it, and all hell breaks loose at Fenway Park. Finally.
Thank you very much. I know one thing. The last hit was the hottest of all 3,000. I took so long because I really enjoyed all these standing ovations you gave me the last couple of days.
The good news, bad news decade of the 1970s was over. It was a decade in which he led his team to a pennant, but they lost the World Series. A decade in which he broke records and set milestones, but 2 of his teams fell just short of pennants. These were the years when he lost both his mother and Tom Yawkey, the man who was like a second father to him. But much more than all of these bittersweet moments, the 1970s will be remembered as the years Carl Yastrzemski, the great number 8, punched his ticket to Cooperstown, New York, and the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yaz played out the early 80s as a feared and respected designated hitter. And as his career slowed down, it allowed us time to reflect and realize that over 3 decades, the man had stayed forever young. Longevity itself is a badge of excellence, and nobody wore it with more justification than Carl Yastrzemski. Through 23 baseball seasons, many of us grew up with Yaz from the time we traded his baseball cards to the times we shared his birthday celebrations. Yaz was the king of careers. He played 23 years with one team, a rarity in these transient times. Nobody played longer with the Red Sox. Nobody in American League history had more at-bats, and nobody in American League history played more games. On the day in September 1983, when Yaz set a Major League record for most games played, a record since broken by Pete Rose, Yaz said that while we may have taken his presence for granted, he did not.
It's not easy to have played this many games. I've had to totally dedicate myself for 23 years during the season, plus during the off season, to get to this position. I've treated baseball as 12 months out of a year job.
There were other reasons for his longevity. Indeed, Yaz was an intense man, and that intensity drove him into games and couldn't drive him out of games.
Fine catch by Yaz. He holds the ball, but he's hurt.
You watch him. He'll try to stay in there. He's going to try to shake it off.
Just want to see how he feels when he swings the bat.
I'm telling you, he is tougher than a nickel steak, that man.
And a tough man. Hancock starting to back up now. He'd been called in, but Yaz going to stay in there.
And that intensity made him a competitor until he was 43 years old.
I think I thrived so much in that one-on-one competition. That's what I really missed about the game, the competition. No one else was on the field because my concentration was so great with the pitcher. No one else existed. I missed that. No one could help you. If you got a base hit, 35,000 fans saw your accomplishment. If you struck out, left somebody on third base, and 35,000 fans plus the news media reported your failure. But I loved it. And that's the one thing I miss about the game, the actual competition. And you can't find it anywhere else. Will I fish or play golf? It's just not the same.
Every loss was gut-wrenching.
I didn't even enjoy the great games that I had because always on my mind, today's over, forget that. Tomorrow, who's pitching tomorrow? How did he pitch me the last time we played? How did he pitch me a year ago? How did he pitch me 2 years ago, 3 years ago? So I never really enjoyed the game that much, even like I said, the outstanding moments I had. I was always thinking about tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. They don't care what you did today or yesterday, it's tomorrow.
One memory I have of Carl Yastrzemski is really not a very pleasant one, but it's one that will stick out in my mind for a long, long time, and that was after the 1978 playoff game when the Yankees beat the Red Sox in a very tough ball game. And after the game was over, when all the media finally left the Red Sox clubhouse, I remember Yaz going into the trainer's room and breaking down in tears. And that just showed to me that here's a guy that was going to be in the Hall of Fame, but the most important thing to him was for the Red Sox to get into a World Series and to win a World Series. And you could see the disappointment all over his face.
The fact that he changed his stance, the position of his hands, the height he held his bat, is testament to his no-nonsense approach to the game. He took the game as a science to be studied over and over again. He even played golf right-handed, so that no unconscious bad habits could possibly infiltrate his sweet baseball swing. Carl Yastrzemski always had his body mechanics in proper position to strike the ball. The game of baseball was not to be taken lightly. In the final analysis, Yaz succeeded because he endured. If number 9 was the natural, then number 8 was the self-made man. There would be many curtain calls in Yaz's last year, like this one after his 450th home run, but none could match for emotion what happened on Yaz Day, October 1st, 1983.
Thank you so much for being here, and I hope I represented Boston and New England with class and with dignity.
All the previous players that I played with, and I asked somebody to tally it up. Since 1961, they were on the Red Sox roster. There have to be 1,000 over 23 years. Every time I'd run into them, it would be, geez, Yaz, if I had worked as hard as you, I might have played 10 years instead of 2 years. If I had done this, I said, Yaz, I said, you did something that you wanted to do ever since you were a kid. You know you couldn't have worked any harder, and you're never going to have to use that word if. And I think that's what really helped me along when I had to retire that weekend.
When he ran around the field and he shook hands with all the people in the stands, I think that was the greatest tribute any ball player ever did when he done that. He done it all on his own. Nobody asked him to do it, and I think it just come to his mind, he just done it.
It was a spontaneous public display of emotion from a most private man. But he had one final game to play the next day. Game number 3,308. And Yaz went out with style with career hit number 3,419.
A single for Carl Yastrzemski.
And one last incredible hurrah from left field on his last major league fielding attempt.
Toby Harrah flies it to left field. Yaz familiarly turns and plays it off the wall, and he will get it back in quickly and Harrah to a single. He hasn't forgotten how to play that wall, although it's been some 3 years since he's been out there.
Then he was summoned from the game and sent on his way to the Hall of Fame. Yaz himself said it best when he said that induction into baseball's Hall of Fame means that you're one of the all-time greats to ever play the game. And in the case of Carl Yastrzemski, although many fans will never be able to spell his name, now that he has been immortalized forever in Cooperstown, nobody will ever forget his name.
I remember in 1961 when I was a scared rookie, hitting .220 after the first 3 months of my baseball season, doubting my ability. A man was fishing up in New Brunswick. I said, can we get a hold of him? I need help. I don't think I can play in the big leagues. He flew into Boston, worked with me for 3 days, helped me mentally, gave me confidence that I could play in the big leagues. I hit .300 for the rest of the season. I'd like to thank Ted Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, no man is an island. He must have a support system without he cannot function. Take my father. Super athlete himself, possessing all the talent and dedication needed to make the big leagues, but living at the time of the Depression. He had suppressed his own desires in order that his family could survive and prosper, so he worked and labored toward that end. If ever there is living proof that some people make sacrifices for others, it's my dad. And if there's any message I can leave on this great day of tradition and honor, let it be this, that the race doesn't always belong to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. It belongs rather to those who run the race, who stay the course, and who fought the good fight. To those members before me, may you always wear the mantle of your membership with pride. To those of you who are to come after me, may you too enjoy the spirit of tradition and accomplishment that is ours today. You should, for you, like every baseball player who ever wore the uniform, are the game. That's why I'm so proud today to have played a role, however small, in a game which is America's pastime, and a game which has been a big part of my life. Thank you very much.
2 weeks after his Hall of Fame induction, Yaz joined Ted Williams, Joe Cronin, and Bobby Doerr on Fenway's Wall of Fame.
I wasn't the greatest average hitter that ever lived, but yet I had over 3,000 hits. I wasn't the greatest power hitter that ever lived, but yet I had over 400 home runs. I'm in the top 10 in total bases, extra base hits, RBIs, than anybody that ever played the game. So I wasn't that bad as a power hitter. I wasn't a bad defensive ball player. I played a wall over in that. You know, I got on my base running. I did steal 28 bases 1 year, but the one word that I would want to be remembered at is very simple. He was a winner. That's all, a winner. That he'd do anything to win a ball game.
survive better than most. There's no way that you can give that many years to the game of baseball, spend his whole life, and be able to walk away and not have feelings of emptiness. And I don't know if that ever leaves a player of his caliber.
I know the pressure of following Ted Williams in left field was a big thing for him. He never mentioned that personally to me, but I know it was a problem for him, and now he talks about it openly. But I never realized at the time what the pressure that he was really under.
Watching him play left field in Fenway Park was like watching an artist paint a picture. It was nobody has ever, or in my opinion, will ever play it better.
I used to go to Ted Williams about young players coming out, hitter. Hey, this guy's hitting 330s. Come on back 10 years from now, he'd say. Let him do it year after year. That's greatness, to do it for a long period of time. When they go to work on you, when the pitchers find out you can't hit a high inside pitch and they pitch you that way, when you're getting a lot of headlines, when you're making a lot of money and you get soft-headed and you get cocky and you don't have the drive you should have. Yastrzemski never lost that. In fact, he generated more and more drive and motivation as the years went by.
I see Carl as a personal friend because he helped me a lot too when I was playing and had some problems off the field. And Carl was always there to really help out and be a good friend. And that was very important.
He would sit every day in amazement and just say, he's done it again.
You love baseball so much, it's such a part of you, and this could hold true to any field, that someone's in, but it's like losing a spouse, you've lost somebody you love.
New England, I love you.
We talked a little bit earlier about you don't like to come back around the ballpark much. It gives you some awkward feelings sometimes. Has there ever been a time since you've stopped playing now that you have felt, boy, I'd like to be back involved with the game in some capacity, whether it's ownership, management, managing, coaching? I know you do get involved in spring training, but I know you've even suggested that part of the thing is you feel like when you do come back here that maybe you could still play with a little bit of hard work.
Well, I just fantasize, of course, when I think that. No, I'm very, very happy working with the youngsters. Maybe one little piece of advice I can give them might help them make it to the major leagues. I'm very busy in my own way, and I set my schedule, which I always wanted to do when I retired. If I'm going to work and I know what I have to get done, if I want to work for 1 week out of the month, I do that, and I take the 3 weeks off. I go fishing. I fish a lot. I go to Mexico. I go to Alaska. I go to St. Thomas. And it's something I always wanted to do. And if I'm not fishing, I'm playing golf, so it's very relaxing. To get into something full-time, right now with baseball, I'd say no, it's not the right time. Maybe 5 years from now, 3 years from now, I might have a different thought on it. But if it's ever anything full-time in baseball, it'll only be with one club, the Boston Red Sox.
Hi, Sean McDonough again. On behalf of TV 38, the Red Sox, and Stop and Shop, we hope you enjoyed Yaz from Fenway to Fame. And thank you for supporting the Jimmy Fund. We'll see you at the ballpark.